All right. How you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. And I just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about mental health, right? This is supposedly uh, Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I wanted to take some time to uh, talk about uh, how aware are we about mental health, right? How aware are we when it comes to our mental health? Um, before I get started, though, if you haven't done so, please click the subscribe button on my channel, and we try to make this thing grow. All right, so uh, let's get this thing going. Um, when we talk about mental health, uh, we're talking about uh, how it affects us and how uh, we look at the world, right? Uh, when when my experience with mental health, it tells me that society tends to look at us a little different because we're dealing with issues that are beyond our control. Uh, it also tells me that there can be a stigma placed on people who are dealing with issues that are beyond their control too, and that stigma can be detrimental to our growth, right? Because when we're dealing with stuff like mental health, uh, people look at it as like, well, that person might be kind of slow, or you know, that person might be crazy, quote unquote crazy. And let's not get this thing twisted. Just because we're dealing with some things that's beyond our control, our own physical control, it doesn't make us less than. It doesn't make us incapable of getting things done. It may make things difficult for us to get things done, but we can get things done, right? So let's make that clear. Let's make that very clear. Okay. Um, One thing that I want to bring up as we get started with this is, how aware are we, ladies and gentlemen, about mental health? How aware are we? Okay. Uh, let's see here. And I want you guys to, I really want you guys to interact with me as I go on about this conversation, because I would like to have your input on this as well. Um, Again, I do believe that this is a very important conversation. I figured I'll just do this by myself. So I want people to participate in this conversation. So please, if you have any questions, comments, please share it on the chat. And I will read it off, and we'll just go. Hello, wifey. Hello, Amy. Thank you for joining in. Um, I just want to read off some stats. All right. Just to be make sure that we are on the same page and that we are aware. I'm gonna keep using that word, aware, of how real mental health is. All right. So check this out. 2019 and 2020, 20.78 experiencing a mental illness. That is equivalent to over 50 million people in America. Here's another one. The vast majority of individuals with a substance abuse disorder in the US are not receiving treatment. 15.35% of adults had a substance use disorder in the past year. And of those people, 93.5% did not receive any form of treatment. They did not receive any form of treatment. I have more, and I'm going to continue to go down that list. All right. There's this thing I think that people should be aware of that. And I had this conversation with a brother last night, and I told him this. I said, with all honesty, I never wanted to admit that something was wrong with me. Even though I knew something was wrong, I didn't want to admit it, because admitting that something was wrong in my eyes meant that I wasn't in control, that maybe I am crazy, right? I didn't want to face that realization with my children and my family that, yeah, Mark is dealing with something that, you know, he's having some problems. And I ran from help. Uh, I did what many people did. I ran from it until I was approached by somebody who really opened my eyes and really gave me the courage to uh, go and make it happen. And once I did that, it was seriously a game changer for me, because it turned my life around. Uh, it made me look at myself in a more uh, positive light. It gave me strength to continue. And now I stand here before you guys having the privilege to talk about it, because this was something that, like I said, I ran from this for years. And I know that there are many people out there listening, or hopefully will listen to this, that are running. And my message to you guys is stop running. Start running, because hurting yourself more than anybody else by running. Stop running, uh, get help, and do what you can to stay on that path of being better. All right. What's going on, Sean? How are you? All right. So, in doing some research on this particular topic, one of the questions that came to my mind was economics. And how does economics affect mental health? First off, does it affect mental health? And my answer, the short answer is yes, it does affect mental health, because, and give me this is my opinion, right? This is my opinion. If you have a poor quality of life, chances are it's going to exhibit in certain, right? Um, if you live in a crime-ridden area, high crime rate, right? Chances are you're going to have a lot of anxiety, because you just don't know what will happen, or if it even happens in your neighborhood, right? I know, in certain neighborhoods, I get nervous. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. In certain neighborhoods of this city of Milwaukee, um, I do get a little nervous. I do get hypervigilant. Um, and that my hypervigilance comes from the military. So uh, it has nothing to do with being in Milwaukee per se, but I get more hypervigilant, and my anxiety does go up a little bit, because in certain parts of the city, let's just keep it real, shit goes down. Shit goes down. So um, my anxiety goes up. And so, knowing that, I can only imagine the anxiety levels and the hypervigilance that people that live in those neighborhoods are having or going through. You know what I'm saying? So economics, in my opinion, does affect mental health. And here's something else to think about. When you have uh, crime ridden areas that can have a poor quality of life, um, it does affect the kids, right? Because think about this. You're struggling just to pay the bills and put food on the table. What about little Johnny? What about little Johnny? I mean, what kind of attention is little Johnny going to get from uh, his parents because they have to work one, two jobs, right, just to make ends meet? And this is no diss to the parent or parents. This is no diss at all, because they got to do what they got to do. You're working one, two jobs, making ends meet, and you got little Johnny here, in this bad area, doing what he has to do to make it, just to make it every day. Uh, it's a high probability that his life is not going to be the greatest, because his life is what he sees. So when he sees, crime, fighting, dysfunction, there's a high probability that little Johnny is going to grow up and give back that dysfunction. I said this before in a prior conversation. I said dysfunction breeds dysfunction, and it's true. Dysfunction breeds dysfunction, and it's of no fault, but it is what it is, right? It really is what it is. If you are in a dysfunctional situation and you have a child or children in that dysfunctional environment, I mean, hey, one or two of them, they could very well grow up doing this. And I mean, it's tough. Uh, there's nothing really good about it, but I mean, you can only do what you can do, right? So my thoughts on the matter is that, yeah, economics does affect one's mental health. So um, let me see some comments here. I see some comments. Um, Amy Henderson, you said this: when you're at war with your mind and emotions, your surroundings most definitely play into that and make it worse. It does. It does. It does. But as I said, though, Amy, some people can only do what they can do. It may not be enough, but it is what it is, and they can only do what they do. Um, when I think about the economic situation, good evening, Ms. Celeste. Good evening, and thank you for joining in. Um, when I think about economics too, I think about the quality of our homes, and it's not just how we live; it's where we're living and what's going on in our home, right? Um, there's this thing, that in the city of Milwaukee, we're dealing with a lead contamination issue, right? A lead pipe issue citywide. Um, it's going to take years of deliberation, uh, possible funding, and work to rectify the situation here in the city of Milwaukee when it comes to uh, lead contamination and lead pipes. Um, and I'll just say this too: uh, the lead pipes and the contamination, it does affect one's health, right? I got some information here that I want to share with you guys regarding that. It reads, lead contamination in drinking water has been linked to a host of health problems, from anemia, hearing loss, to learning disabilities, especially in children, especially in children. A 2021 literature review found increasing evidence that childhood lead exposure is a risk factor for psychological disorders in adulthood, including anxiety, depression, and obsessive compulsive disorders. And as we know, here in the city of Milwaukee, in certain zip codes, the likelihood of dealing with lead contamination is higher than other areas of the city. And let me break that down a little further. There's more Black and brown people being affected by the lead pipes in the city of Milwaukee. And according to what I just read, a lot of us are going to have, or if not already, we're going to be dealing with a lot of physical and mental issues because of the lead pipes that are in our homes. And there has an extensive amount of work and time put into that work to fix this issue, right? But thankfully, there are people in our city that are being effective and putting the foots on the necks of our leaders that that make the rules and letting them know that, hey, regardless of what you guys think that's going on, I mean, this is really what's going on, and this is going to be the issue, a secondary issue, right, of dealing with problems that affects our homes and affects our lives and affects our kids. Because the issues that I just read off, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, people are out here dying because the issues that are in their in home, right? Regarding lead contamination, you know, the lead pipes. We're dealing with issues that should have been resolved decades ago. I'm saying it again, decades ago, and we're still dealing with lead pipes in our homes, more so in certain zip codes than others within the city of Milwaukee. Now, back to being aware of mental health. I'm going to read off some more stats, all right? So listen up. Almost a third, 28.2 of all adults with a mental illness reported that they were not able to receive the treatment they needed. 42% of adults with a mental illness reported they were unable to receive necessary care because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it. Were you aware of that? Up until today, I wasn't, right? I mean, the rabbit hole is deep with this issue here, ladies and gentlemen. And I think it goes back to the issue of the economic issue, you know, based here, because people can't afford to pay for insurance. You know, you have people that are underpaid, overworked, and their insurance doesn't cover certain things. So the ability for some people to get help is just non-existent. It's non-existent, which leaves, you know, some people in our neighborhoods in a very bad position, right? Let me read some more stuff here for you guys. 10.8%, and that's roughly over 5.5 million of adults with mental illness are uninsured. Hispanic adults with a mental illness were least likely to have health insurance, with 19% reporting that they were not covered by insurance. That's big. That's big. So basically what I'm saying is we're having a lot of people walk around untreated, overlooked, and not cared for. That is a big issue. Good evening, Kelly. How you doing, Miss Hanzik? If you guys have any questions or anything you want to add to bring this conversation to light, please do so. All right. I'm going to read off a little bit more. Hello, Miss Williamson. How are you? How you doing? I'm going to read off some more information here. All right. And this is regarding the youth. This is regarding the youth. Over 1 in 10 youth in the United States are experiencing depression that is severely impairing their ability to function at school, at work, at home, with family, or in their social life. Here's another one. 6.3% of youth in the US reported a substance use disorder in the past year. That is equivalent to over 1.5 million youth in the US who meet the criteria for an illicit drug or alcohol use disorder. Here's one more. I think this is interesting. 59.8% of youth with major depression don't receive any mental health treatment. So basically, guys, we're in a sad state of affairs when it comes to mental health and the treatment or the delivery of services as it relates to mental health. I'm talking about mental health awareness. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I wanted to get on here to make you aware of what's going on in regards of mental health and how deep the rabbit hole is regarding the issues that plague our nation, really. Because according to the information I just read, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of people that need help, but they're unable to get the help, right? So I really don't know what can be done to really rectify that situation, but something needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon, because if this doesn't change, it's just going to get worse. We cannot leave people that are dealing with mental illness unchecked. We just cannot do it. Something needs to happen, and it needs to happen like yesterday. Okay. Miss Vicky, how are you doing today? How are you doing? So, you know, these are issues that really just stifle my thinking, and it really just it shuts me down at some point, because I think that people are under the impression that our government is really making things happen in terms of the delivery of services for people in our communities. But the truth of the matter is, it's not happening. It's not happening. And something needs to happen, right? If you guys have any questions, comments, please put them in the chat, as we are talking about mental health awareness. I want to get back to the economic issue here, all right? I want to talk about the single parent thing just for a second, or a couple minutes, whatever. But I want to talk about it because the question that came in my mind when I was doing my little research was, how can a single parent care for her children? Because usually, more than likely, it's going to be the woman that's taking care of the kids. So I'm just saying her. How is it that a single parent can take care of their kids, you know, despite working long hours at their job or working multiple jobs? Because again, they got to do what they got to do to pay the bills. They got to do what they got to do to put food on the table. They have to do what they have to do to put clothes on their backs, right? And before I move on, I just want to give my hats off to the ladies, the single parent ladies who are doing their damn thing and doing the best that they could to provide security and food and what have you for their families. Um, and it leads me to this topic here. It leads me to this. The quality of life for our children is really based on both parents. We need both parents to be there and provide that sense of safety and security for our kids. I understand, there may be certain situations from the guy's side or even the woman's side as to why, he isn't there or she isn't there. But I think whatever differences that people may have, you have to put aside the differences, man, when it comes to, your kids. They need both of you. They need both of you. And I'm speaking from experience. Uh, you need both. You need that man in the home, or not even necessarily in the home, but you need that man involved. The key word is involved, meaning that, you're spending time uh, with your kids or your kids. You're telling your kids that you love them, that you're being there and just being engaged. Growing up, the biggest thing that I knew that I wanted from my father was just to be present, just being present, right? And I can see from our youth that is a lingering issue. That not having the guy at the crib. I mean, I'm surprised that that's still an issue. It's been an issue for years and it's still an issue. And I'm not knocking the guys that are providing and being there for their kids, but I am saying that this is still an issue and it does have a mental impact on our kids. Because think about it, y'all. We're looking at these young teenagers and they out here clowning, and if you ever spoke to some of these young adults, teenagers, many times Pops is not at the crib. Pops is not there. So, you know, a lot of these guys, these young guys, they're the man in the house. Pops wasn't there, so they become the man of the house. And Ryan, how you doing, brother? And Ryan, you can attest to this. Us working at the jail, we've had conversations with many guys, many. And I'm gonna tell you guys, oftentimes, a lot of the inmates there said the same thing. Pops wasn't there. I had to be the man in the house. And at the time, I mean, they were telling me they had to be the man in the house at 6, 8. They had to be the man in the house as a kid. You know what I'm saying? It blew my understanding. It blew my understanding that these guys were telling me that, yeah, man, I had to be the man in the house at 8. I had to make sure that my little sister was taken care of. I had to make sure that she had, she was dressed and ready to go to school. I had to help my mom clean the house and I had to, do this and do that and do this and do that. And it's like, what? So basically your childhood has been robbed. It's been robbed. And yeah, Ryan, yes, Ryan, you said that we did a lot of mentoring. Yes, we did. We did a lot of mentoring and we had to really like break shit down for these men. I'm not even going to call these young men. These were grown men, my age, maybe a little younger. And we had to sit back and talk with these guys about what it is to be a man and how effective your presence is for these kids, because not having that man around, it really does affect their mental health. It really does affect a kid's mental health by the man not being there. You have a lot of angry teenagers and angry kids out here now. They're mad as hell. And half of them don't even know what the anger is coming from. They can't even address the anger that they're having. But these kids are angry, man. And it stems from the house. They're mad. They're anxious. These kids are out here just suicidal. It's ridiculous. And are you guys aware of that? We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. Mental health awareness. I'm going to read something to y'all. When it comes to our kids, suicide is the second most common cause of death, next to car accidents with children in the state of Wisconsin. I'm going to read that again. Suicide is the second most common cause of death, next to car accidents in Wisconsin. I'm gonna let that marinate for a couple seconds. Just to let that marinate for a couple seconds. All right. Let's continue. We're talking about mental health awareness. Are you guys aware? Are you guys aware? And just think, if the kids in these single parent households are dealing with that, what do you think the single parent is going through? What do you think the parent is going through if the kid is going through all that? I'm gonna let that marinate for a second too. Stressors. I want to talk about stressors for the single parents. This is why you have single mothers out here that are snapping and losing their shit altogether. For one, they're stretched too freaking thin. They're working, going to school, doing this, doing that. They don't have time for little Johnny. Little Johnny is, he's pretty much left out the picture, because she has to make sure that, well, I got to work. I got to go shopping for food. I got to go shopping for clothes. I got to make sure little Johnny eat. I can't help little Johnny for, with schoolwork because I'm too damn tired. They're stretched too thin. Men, listen to what I'm saying. The mothers of your kids are stretched too freaking thin and they need help. Here's another one. They're sole supporter. True. That goes without saying. They're the sole supporter. They got to do it all. They're the mother and the father. Why do you think we have so many masculine women out here, guys? Because they have no choice but to be the mother and the father. We have women out here that are walking outside of their femininity because they have to take on the role that you abandoned. And you wonder why so many women are out here jaded. Think about that, guys. Think about that. I'm not letting you off the hook with that, guys. I'm not letting you off the hook with that. Here's some more stressors for single parents. They have no personal time for themselves at all. All their time is devoted to doing something other than taking care of their own selves. Their lives are done, shot. I mean, dealing with a kid is an issue, can be an issue, right? But you talk about, single parents of 2, 3, 4, 5 kids alone, it's over. It's a wrap. Here's some more stressors. No money, no financial assistance from the father, right? Unless you go to child support, and hopefully, something can transpire with that, which leaves them feeling isolated and lonely, which leads them to snap off at some point because they've reached their breaking point. Man, if you fit that description, I'm talking to y'all. Y'all need to step in and be there for those kids or the kid or whatever your situation is. Be there. If the woman doesn't want you back, so the hell what? It ain't about her. It's about them. Get out your chest. Get out your girl body. Man up and take care of yours. That is it. That's it. That's all. All right, let me read some information here. The wife says, I saw a video circulating on social media that gave her kids to CPS because she was stressed to the max, and none of the dads helped at all. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stressors, guys. Talking about stressors. She basically said, fuck them kids. I'm gonna sit quiet for a second on that too. Mm-hmm. Brian Anzac, you said, so how do we turn this around? I talked a lot about this during my campaign, and I'll do it again. You better. You better, sir. You better during your political campaign. Yes, you better do that. Let's talk about it. I will talk about that part towards the end of our conversation. All right, Ryan. So, but when you talk about the stressors, ladies and gentlemen, you bring about the kids that are angry as hell. They're stressed the hell out. Their anxiety levels are off the roof because they don't know what's going to happen with them from day one to day two, right? And, I've worked with at-risk kids long enough to understand that their view of life is pretty shitty, to be blunt. Their view of life is shitty. They just listen. I spoke with kids who told me flat out, I'm just glad to make it through the day. I don't know what my future is going to look like. I don't know. I don't care. But I'm glad to be alive today. And this is coming from kids. We're talking about mental health awareness. We're talking about that. Are you aware of what's really going on? So let me just read off some more statistics here because I want you guys to fully understand how real this conversation is. All right. 22.887% of adults who report experiencing 14 or more mentally unhealthy days each month were not able to see a doctor due to the costs. Again, we're talking about delivery of services or access to those services. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a problem. It's a problem. The ability for people to receive mental health services is non-existent for some. It's not there. which leaves many people in a sad state of affairs because they're dealing with something that's beyond their control. And God forbid if they have kids, the kids are going to have issues that's beyond their control too. So the whole house is just fully fucked up. And we got to deal with that, the taxpayer, because they're going, the little Johnny and Johnny's sister's going to be out here clowning, cutting the fuck up. Does prison the pipeline ring any bells? Pipeline to prison, ding 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 ding. Is that ringing any bells? We're talking about mental health awareness. We're talking about mental health awareness, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Greg Bushley, how are you, sir? You made a comment here that says this. Yeah, we should talk about it. You know where I work. You still there. I work day 1 to 2. I actually need time off for myself for a change. It helps with the EAP. My doctor and friend, Truth. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Greg. Appreciate you, sir. All right. Gabriel, you made a comment here. Some solutions. Stop having babies out of wedlock. Use protection. Man up if you help create the kid and help take care of it. If you know you don't want kids, stop doing it without protection. Those were some of my solutions, babe. I wrote down some solutions, and what you said here were some of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I came on here to talk with you guys, to vent a little bit, because many people don't really understand how deep the rabbit hole is when it comes to mental health. You know, we talk about May being, mental health awareness month. All right, that's fine. That's fine and dandy and all that. That's a little fluff. I got you on that. But do you really know how deep that rabbit hole really goes when it comes to mental health awareness? Are you guys fully aware? I don't know. I don't think all of us are, but I'm here to change that today. I'm here on today to change that. This is why I want you guys to interact with me and talk to me about this topic, because this topic, mental health awareness, it needs discussion. The lack of awareness is why I'm having this discussion, because many of you don't know. Many of you aren't aware of how deep the rabbit hole truly goes when it comes to mental health. When you talk about mental health, you also have to talk about the ability or inability for people to get services. And when people don't get those services, well, things happen. Don't you realize that lately police officers have been called to people's homes of people who are going through mental distress, and they have been unalived quickly because they are dealing with mental health issues that they are not receiving help for, and they're unable to receive help for. We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. We're talking about mental health awareness. People are out here getting killed because they are having a mental health crisis. Let's talk about this part 2. Let's talk about this. Little Johnny is at school. Little Johnny has a history of acting out, behavioral issues. Little Johnny goes home, the man of the house, because there's no man in the house. Little Johnny's 8 to 10 years old. Little Johnny is out of his position out the gate as a child because he now has to play the role of the man because the man isn't there. Little Johnny's angry because he has to live in this fucked up situation called home. Little Johnny is still clowning out at school. Little Johnny starts to exhibit very dangerously close to psychotic behaviors because little Johnny is just fed the fuck up with school, fed the fuck up with home. Little Johnny's even fed the fuck up with life. Where do you think little Johnny's going to end up? Talk back to me, somebody. Talk back to me. Where do you think little Johnny's going to end up? I mentioned the phrase pipeline to prison. Little Johnny's going to end up in prison at an early age because Johnny doesn't give a fuck. All fucks are gone with little Johnny. Fuck school, fuck home, fuck my life. I don't give a shit. We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. What's going on, Marjo? Little Johnny's fucked up. And myself, Ryan, Greg, we've all had conversations with some brothers, at our job, working as corrections officers with people who were suicidal. 18, 19 years old. They're ready to end it. They didn't want to go home. Home was fucked up. Where are they going home to? Where's the break? They have no break. So you have a bunch of little Johnnies in position for failure already. Already. You have a whole school full of Johnnies just waiting to go to jail. We're talking about mental health awareness. Are you aware? Are you? I'm here to educate you today. Gabriel, you said there should be classes in schools that talk about mental health, resources, journaling, being open about your struggles, effects of bullying, etc. Let's normalize needing help. Ding, 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 ding. Let me read some more comments here. Greg, you said this. Yes, I agree. Add on addiction also adds to mental health illness too. You have kids being raised by single mothers, no father, and his feelings get hurt. Not able to have a man help him make a man decision. Then he flips and carries a gun and shoots instead of manning up and walking away. That part. That part. Ryan, you said this. We got to get in these schools and talking to these kids like it's math or English class every damn day. Deal with this at the source. Ryan, the source, in my opinion, is at home. The source, the root is at the crib. We got to get there. We got to get to mama. We got to talk to mama and daddy, wherever daddy is. If he's there, we need to talk to mama and daddy. Figure out why little Johnny is flipping the fuck out. We need to find that out there. Then we can go to the schools and say, oh, little Johnny's been flipping out because of this, this, and this. Because that pipeline to prison thing, Ryan and Greg, that shit is real. We know firsthand because we saw it. We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. We're talking about mental health awareness. If this is the month to talk about it, I'm talking about it. Y'all gonna learn from me today. All right. So let me read something to y'all, and I'm gonna pass with. I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna read something here from you guys. All right. And this is in the state of Wisconsin. Kids for CEO Michelle Mackey, she made this announcement regarding mental health and kids. The Kids Count report finds that 15.6% of Wisconsin children experienced anxiety or depression in 2020, an increase from 12.5 in 2016. But here's the catch. More than 1 in 4 Black Wisconsin children, 26% overall, were identified as having anxiety or depression in 2020. This is a product of the environment and living conditions in which children are growing up. Inequities in access and treatment along racial lines in the healthcare system extend to access to mental health care. She goes on to say this. And while the K-12 education system, in theory, gives children access to some mental health care in form of school-based mental health professionals, it also has its own racial inequities. I will continue. The report finds that children's well-being in the state has improved slightly over the last decade. It also finds that in several elements of well-being, Wisconsin kids fare better than in many other states. The state ranks 9th on economic well-being, 8th on education, 15th on health, and 19th on family and community. But wait, it gets better. Mackey says gains that the report shows for the state's children overall have been virtually absent for children of color. For children of color in Wisconsin, that positive trend does not hold. Wisconsin remains one of the worst places for Black children in the nation. Quote unquote. One of the worst places for Black children to live in the nation. Can we say pipeline to prison? Or killed? How about that? Pipeline to death or prison? Take your pick. We're talking about mental health awareness. We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. I apologize for having this sobering conversation, but this is a conversation that I feel needs to be had, because I truly don't think many of you guys are aware of how deep, like I said before, I don't think many of you guys are aware of how deep the rabbit hole is concerning mental health and the overall look for that as it relates to the delivery of services and people of color, and how ineffective it has been for us. But see, the extra catch to that, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of Black and brown people. We're too proud. We're too proud to admit that we need to get help. So we charge it up as, you know, I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. You can't fix shit. You're dealing with something that's beyond your control, but you want to fix it. There ain't nothing but your pride talking. Brother, sister, your pride is talking. That ain't you talking. And because only thing your pride is going to do is get you hurt. It's going to get you hurt. Trust me, I was once one of them. My pride slowed me down for years. I was dealing with my PTSD for years before I even thought about getting help. Talking about mental health awareness, y'all. You're looking at somebody who has thought about suicide many times in his life. I didn't have the courage to pull the trigger or do something crazy, but I did do some crazy things. And thank God that I'm still here. And I'm speaking from experience. Mental health is real, y'all. And we're talking about it today. Let's talk about some solutions. As my wife said earlier, she mentioned some great solutions. They were real solutions too. Stop having these damn babies. If you don't see yourself having a life with this man or with this woman, don't have a kid. I told both of my sons, I have two sons, I told both of them, if you don't see yourself having a future with a woman that you're talking to, whatever, don't have no damn kids by her. I said that to them, and I'm gonna say it to y'all. If you don't see yourself having a future with this woman or this man, don't have kids by them. Just don't. But it's two. Number one, when it comes to our environment, we, the community, have to take our communities back. What do you mean by that, Mark? Well, I'll tell you. I mean, we have to start policing our neighborhoods. We have to start checking these delinquent parents that that have these potential little Johnnies, right, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. We have to check them. We have to go and like, hey, you know, we want our neighborhoods to be safe because we have kids here in these neighborhoods that we love and we want to see grow up and be successful. If your kid wants to do that, if you're okay with little Johnny being a fuck up, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, then you do that somewhere else, because I'm not gonna let little Johnny fuck up my kid. Your fucked up kid ain't gonna fuck up my kid. See, that's how I was raised. If there was some fucked up kids doing some fucked up shit, our parents checked them, all of that. You will not fuck up my kid with your kid's fuckery. It will not fucking happen. Keep your shit over there. We want our neighborhoods to be safe. So that's what I mean by we have to take back our own neighborhoods. We do. The community does. You know what I'm saying? Here's another one. We need to stop the generational bullshit. All we're doing is reinventing the hamster wheel. Mama had a kid at 13. By the time you was 15, you had two. By the time you was 17, you had three. Now you're stressed the fuck out, mentally corrupt, or let me say that, mentally bankrupt with 3, 4 shorties that you're taking care of all by your own damn self. This generational bullshit, it has to stop. We got to do better. So the mamas and daddies, if you're around, teach your kids to do better than you. Teach your kids to not make the same mistakes you did. I know that that message right there might hurt some people's feelings. Don't care. The truth hurts. We're talking about mental health awareness, y'all. Stop this generational bullshit. Stop having kids that you can't take care of. Because when you have all these kids and you're left holding the bag, you got to be mama, you got to be daddy, you got to be uncle, you have to be the need, you got to be everybody. And all the stress is going to fall on your shoulders. And your kids are going to grow up under all that stress. And all that shit's going to do is magnify the mental health issues in that household. All of you guys are going to be fucked up. All of it. And it can be avoided by simply changing how you think about your life and your reality. Don't fall into the same trap that mama and daddy did. If you know that what they did was fucked up, why are you repeating it? I'm going to leave that right there. Got a comment here. Greg, you said this. When I was in high school at division, where whites were less than 10%, we had a counselor, trades, and even a daycare to assist the kids. But honestly, the parents needed it probably more due to their situation at home. We need to help both, like back in the 80s. Now, it's all for their own. I respect you for your openness. Thank you, kind sir. I'm just keeping it 100 because it needs to be said. This conversation needs to happen. We're going to have more conversations about this. So y'all get ready. I got some more solutions. Ladies, appreciate yourselves. Learn to appreciate yourself. If nobody ever said anything positive about you, you speak positivity to yourself because you have to take care of you first before anybody else. Stop looking for other people to take care of you. You take care of you first. Appreciate yourself. You deserve it. Men, if you're out there busting your ass, doing what you got to do, taking care of you and yours, appreciate yourself. Another solution, and this goes back to what my wife and I just said, be careful of who you're having kids with, y'all, period. Just be careful. If you don't love the kid, then if you don't love the man or the woman, why give them a kid? Why? Why? And most importantly, get help however you can. There are clinics out here that offer free help. There are clinics out here that offer help. Get it. Drop your pride. Drop all of that. Get help. I cannot stress that enough. the longer that you guys debate within your own minds about whether you should do it or not, you're putting yourself behind the eight ball much further. Stop waiting. Stop contemplating. Get the help. Get help. It's there. It's there. And if you did, if you listen to this message here and you do decide to get help, you'll thank me later. Trust me. You'll thank me later. So above all else, guys, get help. It's there. All right. Do you guys have anything else you guys would like to talk about? Any other comments, moans, groans, gripes, complaints? If you guys have anything that you want to share, please do so now. We're on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast, and we are talking about mental health awareness. I hope that this show here really opened someone's eyes and really pierced their brain and really gave them the courage and at least to look at themselves a little different. You know what I'm saying? My goal for doing this is to do just that, make people aware of the truth, not just of what's going on in our communities, but yourself, because a lot of us are in denial. Whether we want to believe it or not, a lot of us are in denial, and we have to stop denying ourselves what's real. And what's real is we're dealing with some things that we can't control, and we need help for it. Because if we don't get the help, the end result isn't going to be very nice. Because heaven forbid, you may one day have that crisis situation. And heaven forbid, if you do, the cops are called. Because the cops are going to walk in there not being very nice. Because they're not trained or equipped to deal with mental health crises. Even though there are people out there that are now supposedly trained on how to deal with people who have mental health crises. But even then, the cop is still a cop. And that cop still has his gun. And when it's all said and done, brothers and sisters, that cop might just use said gun on you. Talking about mental health awareness, y'all. We're talking about mental health awareness. I have one last comment I want to read. It says this: I want to get some real talk on how we get a plan in action. This is dealing with our city leaders. Let's ask what they think and what they'll do. I'm with you on that, Ryan. I'm with you. And if you need me, I'm here. Let's go. I have fun talking with you guys. And I will have many more discussions in the upcoming future. This is probably my first or my second just personal conversation that I've had since I started this podcast. I plan on having more, like I said, down the road. And I hope that you guys really learn something from this conversation, because mental health is real. And the rabbit hole is deeper than you think. So if you weren't aware, hopefully you are now. Again, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health awareness, guys. This is Mark Ross, and this is the Speak Your Truth podcast. You guys have a good night. I will see you guys next